What's the creepiest place you've ever visited? Was it spooky enough to reappear in your nightmares? If not, you need to coat your balls of steel with an additional layer of molten metal and visit one of the places coming up. Here are some places you should really stay away from if you want to get a decent night's sleep. Number 10. The Door to Hell. This one's low on the spooky scale. Or maybe not if the name The Door to Hell is anything to go by. This geological anomaly, otherwise known as the DARVAZA gas crater, lives up to its nickname with its horrifying appearance, which is pretty much what you'd expect a gateway leading down to the fire pits of hell to look like. Located in the middle of the Karakum Desert in Turkmenistan, this football pitch-sized crater was formed in 1971 when Soviet scientists searching for oil accidentally hit a methane reserve which collapsed their drilling platform. In a desperate attempt to rectify the situation, they then decided to set the gaping crater on fire to burn off all the methane, and it's been burning ever since. In fact, this 20-meter deep fiery sinkhole is likely to burn all day and night until the remaining gas deposits feeding the flames die out. So if you still want to head on down to the Door to Hell on a summer vacay, you've got plenty of time. Number 9. Ngoro. Creepy dolls have been cropping up in horror movies for decades, but what if I told you there was a village out there where life-size dolls have almost replaced humans altogether? This living nightmare exists in the small village of Ngoro in the valleys of Shikoku, Japan, which was once home to a happy, lively community. But when local resident Tsukimi Ayano returned to Ngoro and realized most of her old friends had either died or moved away, she began recreating them in the form of life-size doll replicas to ease her own loneliness. Nowadays, if you happen to visit this village and approach someone for directions, it's far more likely that they'll be a lifeless doll rather than a real person, as the doll population now stands at around 350 against 27 remaining living inhabitants. Around the village and its surrounding areas, these human dolls can be found doing everyday things like waiting at the bus stop, attending classes at an abandoned school, heading out for a cycle, or just generally minding their own creepy business. Whether you find this story heartwarming or deeply unsettling, I guess you could say this is one close-knit community. Number 8. Y40 Deep Pool. Not all spooky places are found on dry land, and if you suffer from an unexplained fear of the ocean's eerie depths, otherwise known as thalassophobia, then check out this nightmare-inducing pool in Italy, which literally looks like a black hole capable of swallowing a human. The ironically named Y40 Deep Joy Pool is the deepest swimming pool on Earth with a staggering 40-meter depth, which is the equivalent of an upside-down 14-story building. In case you were wondering why anyone would want to create such a nightmare to begin with, the thermal pool was originally opened for diving training in 2014. Although many have tried to reach the very bottom, experienced divers have even passed out from swimming to the top too fast and experiencing a phenomenon called the bends, which is caused by air decompression and the rapid change in water pressure. This is definitely not somewhere you'd want to go for a leisurely dip. And even watching someone brave the terrifying drop without breathing apparatus is enough to warrant a solid nope. Number 7. Centralia, Pennsylvania. The town of Centralia in Pennsylvania was once home to a busy community who mostly worked in its prosperous coal mines from the 1800s to the 1960s. But nowadays, if you look the town up online, you'll probably find it's also known under a different name, the Burning Ghost Town. The origins of this less than pleasant nickname stems back to a mysterious fire which occurred in one of the mines in 1962 before quickly spreading through a series of underground tunnels. At first, residents took little notice of the incident until gas station owners began reporting alarmingly high gasoline temperatures, and in 1981, a boy almost died falling into a 45-meter sinkhole which had opened up in his own backyard. Huge cracks then appeared on the streets and under houses, trees became white and petrified, and people complained of breathing problems. And soon enough, almost everyone had fled the town completely. This near ghost town is now only home to around 7 residents, who have been permitted to live the rest of their lives there before the area is shut down for good. To this day, smoke containing deadly carbon monoxide billows from fissures which tore through roads and sidewalks, and authorities have estimated that the raging fire below the ground will continue to burn for another 250 years, giving the door to hell a run for its money. Number 6. SEDLEC Ossuary. The SEDLEC Ossuary in Kutná Hora in the Czech Republic also has a more fitting popular name. and it isn't too pleasant. The Church of Bones dates back to the 1300s and contains the remains of between 40,000 and 70,000 people, which have been neatly arranged to resemble a scene fit for any Tim Burton movie. As the story goes, in 1298, an abbot returned from Jerusalem with a small amount of holy soil, which he scattered around the SEDLEC cemetery, making it about the most desirable burial place going. Due to the high demand of people choosing the chapel as their final resting place, the existing corpses buried there had to be exhumed and stored in a newly built ossuary. Instead of just piling the bones up though, a Czech woodcarver named František Rent was tasked with repurposing the remains into something more visually appealing. And boy did he go to town on it. Inside you can find a coat of arms made entirely of bones, party streamers of human skulls, and the pièce de résistance, a chandelier containing every bone in the human body. This macabre work of art is actually a pretty incredible interior design feat and would be a perfect wedding venue for anyone more in touch with their gothic side. Number 5. Hanging coffins. If being turned into a chandelier or a candle holder wasn't quite the way you planned to go, then how about resting in peace the old-fashioned way, in a coffin? Nailed to the side of a massive cliff. This ancient burial method is an ordinary practice for the Igorot tribe of the Mountain Province and Sagada in the Philippines, who have been sending their dead relatives up instead of 6 feet under for more than 2 millennia. The age-old tradition is believed to raise the dead closer to their ancestral spirits, as well as protecting their bodies from the Earth's methods of natural decomposition. Most coffins, which have been personally designed by their occupier before their death, are no more than 1 meter in length. And it's not just because people shrink with old age. In the most literal sense of going out the same way you came in, the corpse is buried in the fetal position, which often requires cracking their adult bones to fit the body into such a small space. The typical ceremony involves various animal sacrifices before the body is passed between the villagers in the hopes that precious bodily fluids will leak out and bestow good luck on the receiver. Maybe I'll just be cremated instead. Number 4. Hashima Island. Abandoned buildings like hospitals and warehouses can be spooky enough, but this entire island in Japan looks like everyone just upped sticks and left one day. And that's because they kinda did. Hashima Island, otherwise known as Battleship Island because of its warship-like appearance when viewed from above, was once an industrial powerhouse used for undersea coal mining between 1887 and 1974. At one point, over 5,200 people lived and worked on the island, but the workers and their families abruptly vacated in 1974 after reserves suddenly depleted, leaving it untouched for 3 decades. Nowadays, it is the world's largest abandoned city, and its graying skeletal buildings and moss-covered grounds make it look like a video game map come to life. All that's missing are the zombies. Its eerie appearance isn't the only thing making this one terrifying location though, as the island is also steeped in a sinister history. During World War II, countless Korean and Chinese prisoners of war were forced into labor at the mines, and over 1,000 workers died during the 1930s as a result of harsh conditions and maltreatment. This horrifying past has led many to claim that the island is haunted, and a quick tour of the ruins using Google Street View is probably enough to make you believe it too. Number 3. VEIJO RÖNKKÖNEN Sculpture Garden. Nestled in a forest near Pericola in Finland is a truly terrifying garden populated by over 550 unbelievably creepy near-human statues, which look like they could come alive at any moment. The VEIJO RÖNKKÖNEN Sculpture Garden is named after an ordinary paper mill worker and lifelong recluse who populated his garden with a whole host of unusual characters with no real intent to profit from his work by opening his garden to the public. After his death in 2010, a Finnish businessman purchased the land, and visitors are now permitted to wander through the garden and gaze upon these bizarre creations, some of which date back 50 years. The figures vary in their otherworldly qualities. Many are positioned in obscure yoga poses, while others are unnerving humanoids, complete with sunken eyes and even human teeth overrun by spiders. And some of the more truly bizarre hidden displays, an eyeless cloaked ghoul peers out from the bushes. 2 sinister-looking women crouch over wash basins, a boy is whipped, and a disembodied head spouts water into a pond. I don't know about you, but I would hate to see what this place looks like when the sun goes down. Number 2. Gas Mask Island. This image looks so dystopian that it's hard to believe it isn't a total work of fiction. In fact, the horde of masked figures in this downright post-apocalyptic scene are residents of Miyakijima Island in Japan, which is also known as Gas Mask Island. I wonder why. There's actually a pretty legitimate reason behind this terrifying dress code though, as Miyake-jima is located at the base of Mount Oyama, an active volcano which has erupted several times throughout history. As a result, the entire population is at constant risk of falling victim to poisonous ash clouds flooding the island with sulfur dioxide at any time. To combat this threat, all residents are required to carry a gas mask on them and listen out for sirens in case of a gas emergency, meaning that the entire island occasionally looks like an extended episode of Doctor Who. This terrifying problem got so bad in the year 2000 that the entire island was evacuated until 2005, when 2,800 brave people chose to return. If you aren't looking to tie the knot in this unconventional get-up anytime soon, then I suggest you steer well clear of Miyake-jima. Number 1. The STRID. Definitely the most unsuspecting looking place on this list, but by no means the least deadly. This picturesque stream in Yorkshire in England may look like the perfect spot for a Sunday afternoon picnic, but it is in fact a deadly death trap with a 0% survival rate on record thus far. Known as the Bolton Strid, the surprising watery grave has earned its reputation thanks to a dangerous combination of super fast currents and hidden rocks capable of dragging someone underwater and knocking them unconscious in an instant. Due to its narrow width and seemingly leisurely appearance, many have attempted to jump across the stream, but make one wrong move and fall in, and it's unlikely you'll ever be seen again. No one who has entered the water has ever made it out alive, sometimes not even their bodies. In 1998, a honeymoon couple drowned in the Strid and were not recovered until a month later, 10 miles downstream. In fact, the Strid seems to be capable of devouring just about anything unlucky enough to slip beneath its murky depths. By all means, this picture-perfect postcard location is actually the stuff of nightmares, and certainly isn't anywhere you'd want to take a cautious dip anytime soon. Were any of these eerie places enough to give you nightmares? Would you visit any if given the chance? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thanks for watching.